Is Jayden Daniels good enough to beat the University of Georgia this weekend? That's the big question that I have for you. I think it's a simple question, actually, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But if you're watching this video, you're a Georgia fan, you know as much as I do that if you want to beat a Kirby Smart-led defense and a Kirby Smart-led Georgia Bulldog team, you have to have elite quarterback play. There's no other way to beat Georgia right now. We saw last year, the only guy to beat Georgia last year was Bryce Young. Of course, he won the Heisman Trophy. 2 years ago, Georgia's defense wasn't as good as they were last year or this year. Still one of the best in college football. The only two guys to beat them were Mac Jones, who had one of the best, seasons of any Alabama quarterback ever, and Kyle Trask, who was really good at Florida. He probably had one of the best seasons any Florida Gator quarterback has ever had. So if you want to beat Georgia, you have to be an elite quarterback, and Jayden Daniels is not an elite quarterback. He's good, okay? He's 238 for 347, throwing at 68% for 2,566 yards, 15 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. He's also rushed for 824 yards and 11 more touchdowns. He's the leading rusher on the team, too. Those are respectable numbers. I'm going to give you some more numbers, though. He's been sacked 40 times, most in the SEC. This is a guy who is looking at his first read, and if it's not there, he's taken off. That's not how you beat Georgia at all, really. You have to be able to dissect a defense that knows what your weaknesses are and are coming after you. You have to be able to push the ball downfield accurately. He doesn't do that either. This is a nickel and dime quarterback, and nobody is going to nickel and dime this Georgia defense down the field over and over consistently to put up points. You have to have those explosive plays, and I thought I had the numbers right here. His longest pass is 54 yards. His longest run is 31 yards. He's rushed 174 times, and his longest run is 31 yards. He's not running on Georgia's defense. There's no way. Now, I know he's run the ball effectively the last few games. Not going to happen. The most rushing yards Georgia's given up to a quarterback this year was 52, I believe. 52 or 54 to Robbie Ashford at Auburn. And Robbie Ashford is faster than Jayden Daniels. He's more explosive. Georgia's not giving up 50 yards rushing to Jayden Daniels. It's just not happening. So when you're a quarterback who is obviously leading the team in passing as the quarterback, and you're leading the team in rushing, it's not going to work against Georgia. You need that rushing attack to help you out. He needs guys like Josh Williams, Noah Cain, John Emery. Those guys are going to have to be at their best to open things up for him in the passing game. But again, this is Georgia's. They're the best defense in the country, second year in a row. Glenn Schumann has them clicking, right? They missed all those guys from last year's team. They just reload. We told you in the offseason they're going to reload those guys with 5 stars. And they're playing very, very well. 4th in total defense in the country, giving up 270 yards per game. They're 1st in red zone defense, 1st in scoring defense, giving up just over 11 points per game through the regular season. They're 3rd in the country in third down defense, allowing first downs on just 26% of third down opportunities. Best defense in college football, and they are going to have Jayden Daniels running for his life. They're going to get after him. Still, guy's been sacked 40 times. 40 times, that's a ton. Hendon Hooker's not sacked much at all. I think he's only been sacked 23 times. 6 plus. I'm going to say plus because Georgia sacked him a couple times that weren't counted for sacks. Not sure why. I think officially they sacked him 6 times. They got to him a lot more. They can get after the quarterback. That's what they do. They game plan for you the week of. Bunch of different terminology. Nothing is kept from one week to the next. That's another impressive part about this Georgia defense and what makes them so special. They're studying Jayden Daniels. They're going to figure out what he does best, what he does, worst, his strengths and weaknesses, and they're going to attack him. They're not going to let him run. They're going to have the spy on him. But again, he's not an explosive runner. He's not fast. I mean, he is mobile and can be kind of quick at times. But he's not running over this Georgia defense. And again, he's not explosive in the pass game either. And it's not adding up. It's not adding up. I like him as a quarterback. He's an above-average quarterback, and he's put together a nice year. He's playing better and better. He's not the guy who can beat Georgia and play well against this defense and put up points consistently. It's not going to happen. If he gets to 13 points in this game, I will be impressed if LSU gets to 13 points. I'm expecting kind of a 28-13 type of game, low scoring, but I have a really hard time seeing Jayden Daniels do much against this Georgia defense. And again, you have to be the best of the best if you're going to beat Georgia. Bryce Young, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask was really good. And, Georgia's still beating really good quarterbacks. Hendon Hooker was elite, right? Didn't do anything. Will Levis, supposed to be a top 10 pick. He had some moments against Georgia. They scored 6 points, okay? You can move the ball up and down the field a little bit against this Georgia team, but you're not getting the end zone on them. Not more than once or twice. It's just not happening. And Jayden Daniels is going to have a really, really tough time. The offensive line clearly isn't there. Again, he's not a guy who can sit in the pocket, dissect the defense, go from one read to another, staying poised, staying confident in the pocket without taking off and basically ruining the play. George is going to get after him. He's not staying in the pocket. He's going to be scrambling all day long. Lots of throws going out of bounds. Eventually, Georgia is going to get to him. 40 times is a lot. And he's only averaging 7.4 yards per attempt. So he's not pushing the ball downfield. He's completing about 69% of his passes because he's getting it out to the first guy. He doesn't let a ton of pressure get to him before he starts running and eventually gets sacked. He wants to get the ball out early. He's not going to sit back there, wait for guys to get open down the field, because if that happens, George is going to be in his face, and he is going to scramble, and he is going to try to make some big play and make mistakes. So he's not a pocket passer who can sit there and light up Georgia's defense. It's not going to happen. It's going to be really, really tough, I think. So, again, to answer the question, it's no. He's not good enough to beat this Georgia defense, and I expect him to have a really, really tough game. Let's see what he's done recently. Yeah, they lost to Texas A&M. It wasn't really even close. He was 21 for 35, 189 yards. Not going to cut it. Just not going to cut it. He was good against UAB. Congratulations. Against Auburn, he led LSU to 13 points. 8 for 15, 86 yards, 1 interception. He was sacked 7 times. He was sacked 7 times against Arkansas, 6 times against Alabama, 4 times against Ole Miss. Ooh, it might get ugly. It might get ugly. Georgia is going to win this game. Something is really wrong if they can't beat this, limping LSU team at the end of the regular season in Atlanta. There are going to be plenty of LSU fans in the building. Georgia fans are going to treat it like a home game. It's going to feel like a home game. The offensive line is going to be, moving early, left and right. They're going to put Jayden Daniels in an even worse position. They're not going to be able to handle the crowd. And even though it might be 60-40, but still, these Georgia fans are loud, and Mercedes-Benz is a loud stadium. And the way the defense kind of, moves early, gets into position late, they do a great job of getting offensive linemen to jump early and try to get that head start on this fantastic defense. And it's only going to push them back farther. So, dude wasn't playing well last week against the Aggies. They have some talent on the defense. It's still not a good defense, I don't think. Georgia is the best in the country, and they're going to come after Jayden Daniels. And he's not an explosive runner. He's not an explosive passer. And you're not going to nickel and dime Georgia up and down the field. So I have a really tough time saying how he's going to do much of anything. Kayshon Boutte has 1 touchdown on the season. Malik Neighbors has 1 touchdown on the season. So it's not like he has all of these weapons. He's got some, decent weapons. The backs are solid. I know Noah Cain from high school. We covered John Emery. We know how good those guys can be, but they're not explosive. They're not running for 50-plus yards, on any particular carry against Georgia's defense. They might have 50 yards total, but they're not breaking off any big runs. He's definitely not breaking off any big runs. His longest run, again, is 31 yards. Not happening against Georgia's defense. And the more I dig into it, the more I dig into LSU's offense and Jayden Daniels. We know what Georgia's doing. We know their strengths. We know what they do best. The more I look into LSU, the more I think it might get ugly. I think Georgia could be a little slow offensively here and there, but I don't think LSU is going to be be able to do much of anything against this Georgia defense. And Jayden Daniels is not that guy. He's not the guy who can throw his way in a ball game to beat a Georgia Bulldog defense led by Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann and Will Muschamp and that talent. It's not going to happen. He's going to have a really tough time. And I think could be a really, really tough day. I expect it to be a really, really tough day for Jayden Daniels and the LSU offense. Guys, thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned to the next one coming up right now, and I'll see you over on DawgSTRUCTION. Real quick, DAWGSTRUCTION. If you want a copy signed by Kelee Ringo, I should have done this in the beginning of the video. Click the link below. There should be a link below. Not sure how many copies Dean has, but great Christmas gift. Kelee Ringo, dude's on the front. He signed copies of this book. If you want a copy, make sure you get one, because Christmas is right around the corner. Big time gift, and you're not going to see these anywhere else. And once they're gone, they're gone. He only signed a limited amount. So if you want DAWGSTRUCTION signed by Kelee Ringo, get with us. Click the link below. Get your copy sooner than later. I promise you, we're going to be out soon. Get that done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.